You made it. Thank you for making it. Thank you for going through this journey, this process with me. I did not mean to insult anyone through this process. I do not think that my thoughts and my opinions and what I take this as are more important than what you or anyone else thinks. I am simply just stating my opinion, but the reason I wanted to do these videos was to show people that while there is work that could have been done better in these movies, nothing's perfect. There are flaws, there are good things with them, and we shouldn't praise one side of this story for another, because guess what? This is one long, technically 11 movie saga, pretty much in a 100-year, give or take, span of how the Skywalkers messed up the galaxy in a way, or technically Palpatine, which is what I'm going to get into, is more, I'm going to tell it from his perspective rather than the Skywalker's perspective, because he was the one that technically orchestrated everything. His plan was to take control and to rule the galaxy, give the Sith their proper rule of the galaxy, which I don't think has been established. I don't think they've ever really ruled the galaxy, and that's what his plan was. He had that grand plan, so he needed to manipulate the Republic from the inside, and then he manipulates Padme to get there, and then he becomes Chancellor, and then he manipulates Anakin Skywalker to fall to the dark side, and he was planning on doing what he did in episode 9 in this movie with him, and he was going to try to have Darth Vader kill him so that they could live within him, or all the Sith will live within Anakin. But then he fought Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan cut off the rest of his other limbs that he still had. He had him burned at the side of a mountain, on the side of a lava stream, and that's not a strong enough host body. So now he had to wait for another suitable replacement for Anakin, who was still strong in the Force, and lived up to Anakin's level as far as Force power, and he just had to wait his time. So he's like, alright, cool, I'm going to still use this guy for what he can do. He's still a menace, or menacing type presence, so I'm going to use him. Then he gets to the original trilogy, where he now wants Luke to take his father's place and strike him down, and that's why at the end of episode 6 he says, strike me down and your journey to the dark side will be complete, because his essence, all the Sith essence from the entire Sith legacy will be flowed into Luke, and he will rule the galaxy. But Vader steps in and saves his son that type of torment, and then Vader throws him off. The way that you have to do that, as far as to get the Sith out of Palpatine and into Luke, with as far as Luke, or Palpatine's essence as well, is Luke has to be angry. He has to be vengeful. He has to use every emotion that is the dark side emotions in order to pull all of that hate and all of that essence into him. But Vader stole that from him, so Luke saved him, and then now Luke is like, alright, I'm going to fight my father, and get that angry again, and Palpatine keeps talking, which is retarded, because every time he talks, he kind of takes Luke out of the fight, and then goes from there, and then you see what happens is he tries to kill Luke, and that's where his plan kind of falls flat, because he changed his plans again. Once he changes his plan, almost every time he messes up by changing his plan at the last second, and Vader killed him, quote unquote. And then now we get to this part where he's trying to manipulate Ben Solo to take his place, but he can't, or he's not willing to, and that's why he wanted Rey dead. And Ben just wouldn't do it. He wanted to do it for himself. So now Palpatine is wanting his granddaughter to take Ben's place. So he's like, alright, strike me down in all your anger, and I will flow into you. All the Sith will be flowed into you. And then he changes his plan again to live on longer until he can find that suitable replacement, and then Rey kills him. So that was his whole plan, is he wanted to transfer his essence into someone, but nobody was strong enough and powerful enough to be able to do it. And every time he got to that point where somebody can, he had to change his plan for whatever reason, and that's why he kept losing. Anakin, well, this was told through his family's eyes, is a major part. I have him tattooed a couple times on my body. and he's my favorite character. But this story isn't about him. This is more about Anakin. Or not Anakin, but Palpatine. Sorry, I mind messed up myself. So that was more for Anakin, was just the vessel to tell the story of why there needs to be balance, rather than one person to rule the galaxy at all times of Sith. And then we finally get that balance at the end of episode 9, whenever Rey finally gets that her own lightsaber, and instead of it being blue or green or red, it is yellow, which I don't know the exact definition for it, but to me, I take that is more of a balanced type of emotional state of you can use both light and dark and still be good. So that's what I was taking it as. There's a lot of good, a lot of bad in these movies. Obviously, like in the love story in episode 2, because George Lucas has openly come out and said he's not the best at writing a love story, but he had to tell it that way, or not necessarily that way, but he had to tell a love story at some point for you to understand why Padme and Anakin fell for each other. I don't like the fact that the fans want to hate on the actors for the character when there's so many people that go into the characters. Think of the characters as their own people, not attacking people like Kelly Marie Tran, Ahmed Best, Jake Boyd, people like that. Like, people even try to bully Hayden Christensen out of acting as well after his spot-on portrayal of Anakin as somebody that had emotions, had to get told to not use those emotions and dealing with that, and then he's dealing with being manipulated by Palpatine, saying that his wife is gonna die, stuff like that. So you finally get this one character of Rey that achieves that balance that I believe Yoda was talking about in episode 5, was about Rey, whenever he says, no, there is another. Yes, he was probably in that moment, that year, whenever they were making the film, talking about Leia more so than anyone else. But throughout this whole saga, now we have the complete saga, it is more than likely he was meaning Rey in their time. That's the difference we got to be able to do as fans, is understand that this movie is set in its own universe, its own guidelines. These characters don't just pop up because somebody puts pen to paper or type on a computer and put their name on a page. No, it is they live in this other galaxy. They are a living thing. That is why whenever you act, you have to become that character. And so whenever we bash actors for doing a bad acting job, it's not necessarily that. There's just so much that goes into it that it's just hard to portray everything you need to make a believable character that's not you. But you are them in a way. So it's a weird thing thinking about acting. Yeah. This is a long process for me. This is a long process for you guys to watch, and I get it. I appreciate everything that you've done. I appreciate the views. I would love for your feedback. I'd love to discuss. I can talk Star Wars all day long. It's just a long, fun process, but I'm glad it's over. Now that I've got all this content out there, please talk. Don't just sit back and watch these videos and talk about me or talk about my views outside of the internet. Just comment on below and tell me what you think. Am I just crazy for trying to put this stuff together? Did I change your views? Did I help reestablish your views? Stuff like that. Anything you want to talk about, I'm more than willing to talk about back. So, enjoy the rest of your life.